blinking red light.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Blink,
blink. Okay.
I was chapfallen when Moyana said that she was chapfallen to have to evaluate Arnie because I wanted to be chapfallen to have to evaluate Carl. Carl gave the number 3 speech from the Competent Communicators Manual entitled The History of Women in Toastmasters, and his purpose was to inform us in a clear and general way. I am to evaluate the organization he used and whether he was sincere and convincing in doing that. I appreciated his good dramatic opening, learning from Arnie earlier that it's important to do that. So getting people up and moving and involved, that's great. That worked for me. The personal story I also really appreciated. From 1973, being able to call on his history, which paralleled the history of women in Toastmasters, was a good bit of speech writing. One thing I noticed with Carl, in paying very close attention, and I can sympathize with this because I have the same issue, is forgetting to breathe all the time, and about a minute into the speech realizing you're about to fall over. And at that point he had a couple of good pauses and took a couple big breaths and got a little color, right color back in his face and continued. So the failure to pause, and the way you do that is you often connect your sentences with a well and an and that ends up depriving you of that opportunity to breathe partway through the speech. I really appreciated your story about how I always call it National Park Service, the Naval Postgraduate School Toastmasters. I grew up in the NPS area. The story about how in 1971 the chapter here was forced to include women, and that's just a great example of where you don't want majority rule, where someone has to take a stand and stick with something principled, and how good things can follow from that. Even within a democracy where we supposedly have majority rule, but that's another issue. The organization of Carl's speech was good. It had a great beginning. The topic itself lends itself to a chronological organization, history of women in Toastmasters, and then the body of it, by, again, including the personal story and then going to the national picture and then bringing it back to another personal story with our local club here at the Naval Postgraduate School, was very good. And then, as was already noted, that's the cheapest standing ovation I've ever seen. But again, it was except for the groans, it was a very effective conclusion. Just his presence alone denotes or conveys sincerity and an ability to be convincing, and he definitely pulled that off. All in all, it was an honor to get to evaluate Carl, so thank you very much for that opportunity, and thank you, Madam President.